This week, I issued the Detachment from People-Pleasing Masterclass. While I'm happy to have it in the world, I do want to issue a caution. A caution to be mindful about your relationship with growth processes. A caution not to weaponize wellness. Not to utilize avenues that further individuality and clarity as an indication that there's something wrong with you. Not to receive ambiguity as a fixed indicator that there's something even about you to fix. Not to make it wrong, to need help, need additional clarity, or to seek change. And not to demonize the inevitable ambiguity of our human existence and in human growth processes. Ultimately, how we feel about or relate to anything is its own relationship. I know that when I'm feeling crunchy in my energy, tense or resistant, that's typically an indicator for me to go in search of where there might be some incongruences, some imbalances, or some possibility for refinement. When I do notice that crunchiness in my energy, I typically use 4 key indicators to help me assess where I'm at in my engagement and how I am either resisting or restricting something by noticing if they are or are not available. Those 4 key indicators are compassion, courage, audacity, and humility. So how do I use them? 1, I use compassion to notice where not knowing and contradiction or confusion is being definitively labeled as wrong, a problem, or an inadequacy. 2, I recognize if in the examination of current relationships, it's being used to shame my progress, and how in noticing that, taking accountability and responsibility to notice something, how my progress is being impeded by my own self or by maybe other energies, takes tremendous courage. It takes tremendous courage to stand up and take responsibility for how you are or are not helping yourself to progress. 3, accepting the identification and highlighting of how hope drives and how it exists behind what is calling us to the examination of incongruence for a possibility of refinement takes tremendous audacity. It takes tremendous audacity to look at something and acknowledge that it's not working anymore. To acknowledge that when we do take responsibility for what doesn't work, there's hope in that. There's hope that we can find what does work. We can find congruence. And 4, admitting that in the need for refinement of our capacity is what actually is encouraging us to seek clarity, and how that level of honesty takes so much humility to admit, takes so much transparency to accept that our capacity, our energy, our bandwidth, our needs, our perspective is no longer the same. And it is our responsibility to go in search of how to be clear with what we need and who we are now. Either way, as I mentioned before, anything that we feel or relate to is its own relationship. That does not exclude change. Change is a relationship, whether with self or other, and it's not wrong. It's not even an indication that something is wrong. It could, however, be an indication of growth. We will continue to make it difficult for ourselves to establish clarity the more we continue to defy and make it wrong to understand how growth impacts our needs and our perspective. In that model of having negative judgments about growth and about its potentiality, we obstruct ourselves from getting to the understanding of where we are in our energies. And we have to get through feeling bad about it before we can move forward with whatever growth is beckoning us. We have to get through feeling bad about it, our intolerance with it, and how we might even use it to belittle before utility, goodness, and insight can be seen as viable, possible, and even empowering. So until we can see how we punish our ambiguities and we reject contradiction and confusion, we're going to continue to be at odds with those aspects of ourselves and seeking a fix for them, seeking a fix for us as if there's something wrong. And in that process, we will continue to make it wrong to feel good or empowered in seeking newness, healing, understanding, or change. So I wanted to come and share this caution with you because I think it's important. It is so important to understand that change can require us to develop detachment from what's familiar. And detachment can involve grief, and grief can cause us to cling to what feels familiar because it's what we know, and what we know makes us feel safe, safer than whatever ambiguities over here on the change path. And I am no stranger to this. I too have my own spin out moments with frustration about growth relationship and relationship to results. Moments where my mind really believes that progress should be going a certain way, but when reality proves otherwise, I weaponize my own wellness. I automatically make myself wrong. I'm doing something wrong. I'm ill-equipped. I'm inadequate. I'm broken. I am the problem. Developing negative judgments can cause us to become resistant to whatever we feel tense or unsure about. And whatever we feel resistant to can cause us to cling to the familiarities for safety. It can cause fear within the ambiguities of change and distort our perspective about ourselves with growth, ourselves with wellness. This fear-based distortion can cause us to develop a relationship with change that feels unsafe. And in a relationship that feels unsafe with growth, it can also cause us to stay in relationships or energies or in circumstances that aren't necessarily bad for us, just aren't with the current version of us that's desiring newness, healing, understanding, and change, needs to trust transformation. Ultimately, don't be mean to yourself. Look out for yourself and practice compassion, looking for the spaces where you feel, unavailable to fully do that. And perhaps notice where a weaponization of your wellness might be occurring. If you feel that you are in a relationship where you're weaponizing wellness, know that you're not alone. If you aren't sure if you're in a relationship where you're weaponizing your wellness, know that you're not alone. Know that in identifying it is the first step to changing it. So you're probably already further ahead than you think. Either way, it's up to you to decide what your relationship with growth is going to be. If you find any piece or part of this useful today, please feel free to send me your insight or your feedback. I always look forward to hearing from you. And if you do find that there was some usefulness to this content, I really would sure appreciate you sharing it, whether it's in general or with someone who you feel would find the content meaningful. Otherwise, as always, thank you for sharing your energy with me. Thank you for letting me hang out with you this week, and be good to yourself. I'll see you next time.